What is going on, YouTube? Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. In this video, what we're going to talk about is finding dopamine in the work itself. You see, so many of us, we try to seek dopamine from the short-term satisfaction, right? When we get the thing, when we have the end goal, when we get to do X, Y, Z. But never do we ever look at, the feeling of dopamine coming from directly the work we're doing itself. So an example would be if you're trying to build muscle, you're trying to, improve your physique, and you're going to the gym day after day, day after day, day after day, gruesome, like just hating the process, or maybe not hating the process, but just not really being a huge fan, and being like, okay, well, once I get there, once I have the physique, then it's going to be like this dopamine hit. Bro, I am the person to tell you, you will never have that happen. And if you do, it's going to be like an instant and it's gone. Because then your brain's going to search for something better, and you're not going to be satisfied with where you're at. So you need to find dopamine in the work itself, right? Find dopamine in the work itself, right? Because when you do that, you're going to get lost in the process. You're going to get lost in the work you're doing, and your passion will take over. Your eagerness for getting there will take over, and you'll realize that, wait a second, not just am I getting closer to that goal, but I'm becoming such a different individual throughout this process. And so many times in life, I think that we just have our mindset focused on this end tunnel vision. Like, we're going to get there, and when we get there, it's going to be the end goal, which is great. And you need something, I think, pushing yourself in that direction. But when you can start to find the dopamine and, actually be like, yes, let's go, from the work itself without seeing the results, that's when life gets so much better. If you're trying to build muscle and you're going to the gym 4 or 5 times a week, you will start to find dopamine from those workouts. And if you can think about it that way, then the physique is just a byproduct. The end result is just a byproduct, right? Like when you think about a bodybuilder, one of these, top guys, Chris Bumstead, for example, he and a lot of these other guys, they talk about, it's not being on stage, winning the award, or being backstage when they feel the dopamine. It's when they're in the gym consistently, day in and day out, knowing that they are literally squeezing every last drop from the lemon. They're literally, and that's my favorite analogy, by the way, but they're literally finding every last ounce of strength to continue fighting through, continue going, and putting forth maximal effort, because they know that not just they want to get to this end goal, but also, they want to achieve better. They want to become their best self. And, it's fun because a lot of these guys talk about that, and the same thing for myself. Like when I'm in the gym, it's always like, okay, this is the fun part. This is what's fueling me. This is what's making me, love the process, is because I'm literally pushing myself to the absolute limit, and I'm not leaving anything in the tank. Now, every time in the past in my life when I would be in the gym and trying to think about the future, once I build muscle, once I get my body fat this low, once I X, Y, Z, it takes away the dopamine, it takes away the fun from the work you're doing now. And so you need to find fulfillment, find the dopamine, the enjoyment from the work itself. So, because when you do that, what's so crazy about that is you literally start to get obsessed and addicted with the process itself. And as a byproduct, what happens when you become addicted and obsessed with the process? Well, the results are 10 times greater, right? But again, like you want to keep your focus on the work you're doing, because it's a feeling like no other. Because you know that you're exerting all your energy, all your effort, everything to become a better person, and you're experiencing what it feels like to push yourself to the limit, right? And you know, getting the award, winning the thing, having the physique you want, all these things are great, but if you don't find fulfillment in the journey, then you're gonna miss the whole process of becoming a better person, of building the muscle, of doing all these things. And you know, the grit that actually causes, you know, this outcome, right? And I think it's crazy because, you know, so many times we're so in this constant cycle of just like, when I get there, then I'm gonna be satisfied. When I get there, whatever. But our brain is meant to, you know, look for the more challenging tasks, or I should say, our brain is meant to look for the easier tasks. But our brain is also made to look for new, more advanced goals, right? So once you get to that goal, you're already going to be fixated on the next goal, and so you're never going to ever appreciate it, bro. But if you can find fulfillment in the work itself, find, you know, the dopamine from the work you're doing, then you're going to be, you know, proud of the work you're doing, you know, feeling like you're accomplishing something and excelling at it, and doing that will just push you so much further, because it's not about the end result or where you started from. It's about the person you became along that journey because you applied yourself to surmount to that level. And when you do that, that's when you find passion for the things you do. You find the enjoyment, and you find the beauty of life, because on every single side of the equation, we have two sides of the equation, right? We have one side, which is, you know, the work we're putting in and the difficulty of that. And on the other side, we have the reward that comes with that. And you have to understand that every single time when the reward is great, when the reward is amazing, you know, the work is going to be horrible at times. There's going to be times where it absolutely sucks. You don't feel like doing it. But that's what makes it beautiful, is because if you don't embrace the difficulty, if you don't embrace the suck, and you don't actually fully accept the difficulties you're facing and the adversity, then you're not going to be able to truly appreciate the end reward, right? And so you need to understand that, you know, having the thought pattern of, okay, if it's really difficult now, if it's really challenging now, why am I going to try to resist this, run from this, and not face this? I'm going to tackle this head on, and I'm actually going to be happy about that, because this means that, like, I'm literally pushing myself to the limit. I'm becoming the best possible version of myself by overcoming this thing. And even if I don't overcome it, I'm trying as hard as humanly possible. And the flip side of that is, when I finally achieve that thing, it's going to feel so good, because it's like, okay, think back to how difficult, how much work you had to put in, and you kept going. You did not quit, right? But if you're in the middle process and you're doing the work and you're just solely focused on the end result, you're going to miss that whole self-development, that whole person you're becoming, because you're literally mad at yourself for not being further ahead. But at the same time, you're not focused on the work itself. So you need to find the dopamine in that work itself. And as a byproduct, naturally, those rewards come to you, those goals come, and they come, you know, tenfold, right? You get so much greater reward because you're literally in the work. And that's what I just wanted to hop on here and talk about, is, you know, finding dopamine, finding passion, finding fulfillment, finding enjoyment in the work itself. Because there are going to be times, long periods of time in your life, whether it's shorter or longer, there's going to be times where you don't see the rewards for the work you're doing. And if you're only doing it for the reward, then you're going to be miserable. But if you're doing it for, you know, the person you're becoming, and enjoying that work, regardless of how difficult it might be at the time, then that will allow you to continue going. And naturally, as a byproduct, you'll get so much further ahead. But above all else, you will become such a more resilient individual, and you'll be content with where you're going, the trajectory of your life. So I hope that helps someone out there. and see you guys in the next one.